morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Pottstown. I'm Linda Kozitzky, and I'll be the worship associate for today. I'd like to welcome everyone today, those who are in the room, those who are in cyberspace, viewing us via Zoom, and those who will view us later on our YouTube channel. I'd like to give a special welcome if we have any guests, which we don't, but maybe somebody has stumbled across a link or a website and is watching us, so if you do, I welcome you. We are a liberal faith community. We welcome all who enter our doors. This is the perfect place for those who are not. But while we are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spirituality, we are aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good. And we are also aligned in a belief that coffee is good. So please stay for coffee, and I believe it is Potluck Sunday, so please stay for a little potluck. Are there any announcements? I have one, and that is we are going to reinstate giant cards. I know we're coming up on the cooking season, so please let me know if anybody would like to purchase giant cards. And just so you know why this is important to us at UUFP, for every $1 that is spent on a giant card, we get 5% or 5 cents back. And all you need to do is just go shopping, but buy the cards through us and we reap the money back. So it's a nice, easy way to fundraise. Any other announcements? No? Okay. Then our chimes will call us together. Today's service is inspired by a suggestion from longtime UUFP member Albert Jenkins. The suggestion was to have a service focused on the importance of family get-togethers. While several people will have prepared remarks, Albert being one of them, all are going to be welcome to share their thoughts. So our opening words are by Bernard Edwards, and it's entitled, "We Are Family." Everyone can see that we're together as we walk on by. And we fly just like birds of a feather, I won't tell no lie. All of the people around us, they say, can they be that close? Just let me state for the record, we're giving love in a family dose. Living life is fun, and we've just begun to get our share of the world's delights. High, high hopes we have for the future, and our goals in sight. Now, we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel. Does anybody know what the next words might be? We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. So for those of you who may not have recognized that, those were actually the lyrics to a song by Sister Sledge called We Are Family, and I thought they were very appropriate for today. So let's start with our opening hymn, which is number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. And the lovely and talented Miss Carla Shell will be playing piano. goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And the flame within us is still waiting to be kindled.
Because Alan knows what he's doing.
Thank you, Ellen. But see, that's what families are for. And now we will have a story for all ages.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Miss Ruby, and I have our story for all ages this morning. And the title of the story is Thanksgiving is for Giving Thanks. And until we get it up on the screen, I will show you my phone. Can anyone see that? So. And it's my fault, I sent it to the wrong email address, so not to put Rick in the spotlight. And it's written by Margaret Sutherland and illustrated by Sonia Lamont. Guess we're still trying to find it, so we'll just get started. Thanksgiving is the day of the year that we eat lots of turkey and pumpkin pie. But most of all, it's the day when we give thanks for the things that make us feel happy. I am thankful for my mom and dad. They love me when I'm good and when I'm not so good. I'm thankful for everyone else in my family. My grandma, I need to keep it blessed. My grandma gives me really good hugs. I am thankful for my teacher. She makes me feel special when she hangs my artwork on the wall. I am thankful for my friends who make me laugh. I am thankful for my room because sometimes it's nice to be by myself. I am thankful for hot chocolate on a cold, rainy day. I am thankful for all the dogs and cats that I know. Maybe pigs too, huh guys? It's fun when they let me pet them. I am thankful for my favorite books. I like bedtime when mom or dad reads to me. I am thankful for bright sunny days when I can play outside with my friends. I am thankful for lollipops that turn my tongue purple, or green, or orange, or red, or blue. I am thankful for special days like Thanksgiving when I'm with my whole family and we can all be together. So guys, after service, the children and I would like to invite you, if you would like, to fill out a leaf with what you are thankful for and put it on our thankfulness tree that we will be making during RE today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ruby, and we can send your children off to RE to make the leave. the offertory, and you may be asking yourself, so why do we do an offering? One of the purposes of this fellowship is to encourage all who gather to grow more generous in spirit and action. We will now take an offering that will allow us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that would help to support this self-supported fellowship. We have bills to pay, and unfortunately our creditors want money. The gifts will be greatly received, so I will. Thank you, everyone. And as we transition into the more traditional service part of today's program, we'll start with a moment of meditation. And I found this. It's called The Importance of Family. And I found it on the Hanley Foundation website. And they're a foundation whose mission is to eliminate addiction through prevention, advocacy, treatment, and recovery support. But I thought what they said about family is very important. And I think the first line really should be said twice. Family can exist in many forms, right? We initially think of family as our, who we were born to, our sisters or brothers and parents, but sometimes our families go past that. So again, families can exist in many forms. What lies in the epicenter of that are the people who consider themselves family and the love that they have for one another. These bonds are important because family helps us get through the most disastrous times and the best of times. Family is important because they can offer support and security coupled with unconditional love. They will always look to see and bring out the best in you, even if you cannot see it for yourself. Family is important because they will, for the most part, be the only ones who can really understand you and bring you back to the place of peace. Family is also very crucial to guide you down the path of morality when it comes to outside influences, such as dealing with drugs, alcohol, peer pressure, bullying, and someone saying negative things to you. Your family might not be able to shield you from everything, but they will be able to assist you through the hard times and give you the tools you need to diffuse or avoid the situation. Family will provide you with a home if you do not have one, and they will point you in the right direction so that you can get back on your feet. Family will tell you what you do not want to hear, but they do it out of love to help you grow. Another reason family is so important is because they can teach us to know our family history, which can shape our persona into something positive and give us a sense of direction. Marcus Garvey once said, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." When family comes together, they can make the impossible become possible and give hope to those that they love so dearly and give them a fighting chance in this life. So let's take a moment to meditate on who you consider family that give you those things. Okay, and now we will sing our next hymn, number 67, and now sing we together. Please stand if you are willing and able. Thank you. And now we will enter into our sermon, which is basically people talking about what the value of family celebrations means to them. And again, since this was an idea by Albert, we are going to allow Albert to go first. So let's get him up front. I'm going to do this and I'll build it.
All right. I've been thinking about this. What is a family? What is a family?
Hold it closer, Albert.
More than just parents and brothers and sisters. More than aunts and uncles and cousins.
Hold it closer.
More than aunts, uncles and cousins. Family is people who bring us together. As a young man, after my father died, I was placed with a family who had been members of his Methodist Church congregation in White House, Ohio. And I felt that was my family for a long time. Uncle Clyde's parents lived on the next farmhouse, and they ran the farm as one big operation. And there were almost yearly gatherings of people who had been part of the Noble family over the years. Would turn into some numbers of them sometimes. And they all came together as family. And a family cares about each other. A family does things for each other. A family holds your hand when you feel down at all. After leaving there, family became my mother and sister, and we traveled a bit. And family was three of us going around the country in her old car, often singing together, and we knew we were a family. Then I found myself back in Whitehorse, Ohio, with another family again. And I cared for them because they cared for me, and did so much for me. We left there, found ourselves in the middle of Utah, mother working for the government, and again, our family grew to include the Japanese-American housekeeper who came around with us, who fed Marie and I at midday, saw to it that we got home alive from school, and the next day set out for school again, properly. I'm sure she had family around the encampment, but we were there, and Mrs. Sakai was part of our family. We cared for each other. We did things to help Mrs. Sakai because she was of our family. Then I found myself in Utah with a stepfather, and the family had grown. There was a brother and a stepbrother that I didn't see much of, but I would have valued seeing them. They were, again, part of the new family. They weren't quite sure what to do with me, but there we were. And when I left that home to join the Navy, I joined a fraternity at the University of Utah. And again, those other young men in that fraternity chapter were family. Family can be many things. Family is people who care, who help, who do things for you, and who you want to do things for. And without them, where are we? What are we? We can be pretty alone. I've seen people who were alone. And I can only give them sympathy. I can't give them much help unless they become part of the family. And they often are afraid to. They will be afraid that they'll be hurt by being part of a new family. And they won't let you come and be part of their family. And then I met this girl from Kentucky who had 2 daughters. When I asked her to marry me, she said, yes, but you now have a family. I now had 2 daughters. And yes, they were very much family. I cared. And as far as possible, as a stepdaughter is able to, they cared for me. I know that Evelyn cared for me. I was a Scout Scout leader, one of my young men met my older stepdaughter. And nature took its course. Our family grew with another very extensive Hawaiian family. That's that family branch. And when I go to visit any of them, I'm taken in. I am one of the family, even if I am a Haole, even if I don't look like them. I am part of that family. And when that family gathers, we sing and we dance. And we enjoy hearing each other's news, and we care for them. That's it. Family can be many things. Families can broaden. Families can expand. But in all, whoever your family is, wherever your family is, you are part of them. They are part of you. Part of you. You care for them, and they care about you. You may not be able to give them a lot. You may not have a lot to give them, but they appreciate what you can contribute, and they contribute what they can, and you appreciate what they give you. Family is a wonderful thing. So that led me to wonder, what is a family? At Saratoga Center, there's a group of us who all cluster around the same dining table. And we have become a family. We are not kin. We're not blood relatives. We don't have the same family name. We don't have all the same interests or the rest of it. But we care about each other. We care for each other. When one of our members seems to be quite ill, we worried about him as our brother. I call this guy little brother, because he is part of the family. I belong to a lot of families, and those families have given me a great deal. I hope that I have given them as much as they have given me.
Thank you, Albert. Well, that's a tough act to follow. Not sure what more we can say, but we will try to do that. Thank you, Albert. That was lovely. It really was. Emily, do you have some thoughts on family? Would you like to stand here or there?
So this morning I have just a quick thought about family traditions. The family tradition that I remember growing up around this time is my grandmother would have a big pot of chili. That's this particular recipe of chili that she would put on every single Thanksgiving, because the whole family would be coming from all across the country. And she would put on a pot of chili so that everyone would have something warm and nourishing and filling to eat when they walked in the door. And so that's the family tradition that I like to think about when I think about family. Family is a place where you walk in the door and you feel loved and comforted and nourished just by being in the room. So, family chili, everybody.
Lisa?
I forgot that John made this lovely spread out lectern, so you can have everything we need in place. Hi, I'm Lisa, and I have for you a gift from my mother. I said the donkey shaggy and brown, I carried his mother uphill and down. I carried her safely to Bethlehem town. I said the donkey shaggy and brown. I said the cow all white and red, I gave him my manger for his bed. I gave him my hay to pillow his head. I said the cow all white and red. I said the sheep with the curly horn, I gave him my wool for his blanket warm. He wore my coat on Christmas morn. I said the sheep with the curly horn. I said the crow, no, wrong word. I said the dove from the rafters high. I cooed him to sleep that he should not cry. We cooed him to sleep, my mate and I. I said the dove from the rafters high. Thus every beast on Heaven Hill was glad to tell Emmanuel that he gave a gift that Christmas morn, that he gave a gift that Christmas morn. It's a song I sang forever, and these little animals are from a manger set, a crèche set, that my mother and I purchased at Woolworths when I was 6 years old. I'm 76 now. And the Woolworths was set up that the manger scene, they had like all the cows, all the donkeys, all the Marys, all the Josephs, and you picked out what you wanted. The attraction for me was, first of all, helping to choose it, but secondly, all the creatures, and I brought the entire set back, it's out that door, the table by the door. They're all textured. The people have real clothes. The animals are soft. It's inviting. I never saw another set like that, and that's why I have preserved it all these years. The years can tell, you can tell the years, but they're still very special to me. And I thought that there was a warmth, there was an attraction. Also with the same set, when my sons were quite young, they looked at Mary and the baby, and I explained that this was a story, that this was a tradition. I didn't aim for any great belief other than family unity. But they said, that baby looks cold. And so I noticed that the arms of the Mary figure were spread out. And I took the baby from the little manger and put it in Mary's arms and put away the manger. So Mary is holding the child. As I grew up, I realized that the story is really talking about the interconnectedness of animals and people. Where would we be without them? The wonderful Franco Zeffirelli movie called Jesus of Nazareth opens with a scene, a very warmly lit, sort of golden brown tones, of the manger and all the animals in it. It made me cry to watch the opening of that movie. If any of you watched The Vicar of Dibley, a very charming comic series on Brooklyn. And there's one episode that just made me cry, and that was when Reverend Geraldine decided to have a service for the animals. It's fairly common around here. But she had a service for the animals, and then there's a great big backup shot of people bringing their horses, their cows, their sheep, the big animals, the little animals, birds flying into the church. I just sat there and cried. I just thought that was one of the most wonderful scenes ever. The fact of being together is just very spiritual as far as I'm concerned. And I want to say that we should nurture the child within us. At Christmas time or any holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, Kwanzaa, Diwali, the Native American celebration of the corn, anytime we get together, we nurture that spirit, and we're paying forward the love that our relatives had for us. And our little children around us, my 2 granddaughters, will be getting the love that we are passing down to them. And while they may not understand it that much at that time, the grown-ups feel it and remember the generosity and the love of the people who helped them. As far as nourishing the child within, always do that. I'm a big admirer of the games people play. It's like a psychological look at people, from Eric Byrne and his coworker, whose last name I forget, but could write better than Eric Byrne could. But they divided the human sort of spirit into 3 parts. This doesn't mean a physical parent or adult or child. It's part of our personality that can be a parent, or either nurturing or a critical parent. The adult is always the adult. The adult part of this is like Spock on the first Star Trek. You know, what time is it? Oh, it's 8:24 and 33 seconds. That's just fact. Child is divided into 2 parts. The playful child and the child who does what they're supposed to do, like yes, please, no thank you. But it's the playful part of the child, in Byrne's perspective, that is the creative part of us. And if you don't nourish the child within, the creative part of your personality is kind of, there's a shadow over it. So don't hesitate to nourish the child within yourself at the holidays, as well as the physical children who are around you. And I just bear that in mind, enjoy the holidays, and pass on what the people you loved, whether you were related to them or not. As my husband said, who cares about biology? Pass it on at the holiday season. Thank you very much. I'll put this back with the manger scene. You're welcome to touch it. You can't break it any further than it's already been broken, so no harm done.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
So I have some prepared remarks, and for anybody who knows me, I tend to be type A. There's a surprise, I'm sure. So before I left on the trip that Mary and I took, I had in my mind the outline of what I was going to say. Unfortunately, an event occurred that basically said, nope, we're going to talk about something else. But before I go on, I need to give you a little bit of background. I am the youngest of 4 kids. I have an older sister, Marilyn, and then 2 years later came my brother John, 2 years later came my brother Mike, and then, oops, 7 years later, I we consider ourselves a close family, but it's close as defined not by how often do we see each other or how often do we talk on the phone to each other, but it's defined by we are always there for each other, right? We know in our hearts, any one of us have each other's back. So, and that's okay. So in 2019, my oldest brother John, his daughter Anna, my niece, became engaged. Now you need to understand my brother is divorced. Acrimonious does not even begin to define the type of divorce he went through. It was messy. His 2 daughters, Emma and Anna especially took the divorce of her parents very hard. And she always had an interesting relationship with her mother. So my sister and I really played a role in Anna's growing up. And despite all that she saw with, you know, a bad marriage and all that, she had dreams that when she was getting married, she wanted the big white wedding, right? She saw her cousins, my brother's Mike's 3 daughters. Boy, did he throw a party. I think he's still paying it off, even though he's now got 11 grandkids. Anna wanted that. She just saw that that's what she wanted. So Anna becomes engaged in 2019, and for some reason her mother is, oh, I'm too busy to throw a bridal shower, so I throw the bridal shower. And we held it in December of 2019, because you see, her wedding was scheduled for March 28th, 2020. Yeah, devastated doesn't even begin to define how poor Anna felt, right? Now granted, she was 24, and you know, what do you know of life at 24? And I don't mean to offend anybody who is 24 or younger. But you know, with age comes perspective, but to her, this was huge. So she was really devastated. I helped her call our side of the family, here's what's going on. She and Ben went ahead and had a very small ceremony in May, so they got married. But she still wanted that party because she had the dress, she had the bridesmaids, and she wanted that party. So, the plan was for her to have the party, and we initially had rescheduled it for November of 21. Well, we all know that's not going to happen. So it's pushed to November of 2022. November 12th of 2022 to be exact. And here comes the event. On November 6th, I test positive for COVID. So the way Anna reacted when her wedding got canceled, I made her look mature, let me tell you. And let me tell you, the F-bomb is a noun, an adjective, and an adverb. I was really just, you know. I was heartbroken for several reasons. Anna, as hopefully you've heard, Anna's very special to me. I've seen her through her lows, and she had some very low lows, and I wanted to participate in one of her highs. And while I love all of my siblings and enjoy spending time with them, my brother John is actually one of my favorite people. I mean, this is a guy who went to the first Woodstock, and I know he left some brain cells there. But he just is this unique thinker that I just so love. And I wanted to be there for him as father of the bride. And he had children later in life, so this was, you know, really gonna be cool. And I wanted to see my extended family members, right? Aunts and uncles and cousins I haven't seen in, you know, years. I have a cousin in Wisconsin who I haven't seen probably for 15 years. And I wanted to participate in what has become a tradition at Kozitzky weddings. So the opening words were the song We Are Family by Sister Sledge. We dance to that at every wedding. The whole family gets out, the DJ will play it, and we get out and dance to that. So that's what I wanted. When I called John and Anna early in the week, right after I tested positive, you could sense the disappointment on all ends. But this is where the specialness of being part of a loving family kicks in. So after confirming the CDC guidelines that basically say, okay, 5 days of isolation, right? And as long as you're not running a temperature, as long as your symptoms are mild or are improving, you can go out in public masked for 5 more days. So I texted those guidelines to my brother, and I hear nothing, which is really not unusual. But about 2 hours later, he calls me, and he said, hey. And I had said and I have to back up to say, when I had spoken to both Anna and John to say I tested positive for COVID, don't be surprised if you see some crazy person in the back in a hoodie with a mask on. You know, that's me, because I just needed to see this. But my brother called me after I'd sent him the guidelines, and he said, hey, Anna and I have got it figured out. She was getting married in a country club, and her whole thing was there was this big grand staircase that she was going to walk down. Her father was then going to walk her down. There was a mezzanine. So they were like, you know what? We're going to get you set up on the mezzanine. And Anna was so excited because that's where she was getting dressed, and I would be one of the first people to see her as she comes out before she walks down the stairs. And upon arriving at the country club, right, I try to avoid people. Like, I see the bus unload, you know, because everybody's staying at a hotel, I see the bus, I'm like waiting for people to go in, and I tried to get there early. But there was no way of kind of avoiding people, so I'm just sort of trying to get in. And my sister sees me. Now, I hadn't spoken to my sister or my other brother, Mike, and I got my mask on, and I'm dressed up though. Let me tell you. You can still style when you have COVID. And she's like, and I said, you know, COVID. I said, I'm going to be upstairs, because we had a special place right up front. That's where Anna wanted us. I said, but I'm going to be upstairs. So my sister was sit up front. Again, loving family. She's like, I'm coming up with you. You're not sitting up there alone. Okay. And I got to see my extended family from above, right? And as I was attempting to leave after the ceremony's over, I get to see it, and I'm like, okay, everybody go to cocktail hour, and I'm like, let me run down the stairs and run out. I get waited, right? People see me. My cousin from Wisconsin is coming at me like this. I'm like this, and he's, you know. And as people, you know, people are talking to me, and I'm maintaining distance, I'm starting to think, well, maybe I can just stay a little longer, right? I didn't feel comfortable taking the mask off. I wasn't going to eat, but maybe I can. But then I see my 89-year-old aunt and uncle, my father's brother and his wife. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't. I cannot put them at risk. And then the final thing is Anna, before I left, Anna said, no, I want you in the family picture, right? And again, it was so it would be my siblings and all of the husbands and wives and grandkids and all this, and we got the picture going up the staircase. And you have to understand, my brother Mike is a comedian. So I'm standing on the end, got my mask on, and Anna's like, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to, I'm like, no, I'm gonna leave the mask on. My sister-in-law, Mike's wife, is standing behind me. Mike's also standing behind me. She hits me and she goes, just take the mask down for the picture, right? My brother goes, okay, yeah, everybody hold your breath. The photographer picks up on this. So she's standing back there and says very loudly, okay, everybody, ready? Hold your breath and smile. 5 times for 5 pictures. Hold your breath. So after that was over, I left. And while I wasn't able to stay for the reception and all, I was able to be a part of it. And I share this story because it does reinforce, again, I go back to the importance of being part of a lovely family and getting together with them. So here, I hope what you took away is a loving family will always find ways to include you. A loving family, like my sister, will never let you feel alone. Being part of a loving family means that sometimes you need to make decisions, not based on what your wants and needs are, but based on the needs of the other members of your loving family, like my aunt and uncle. And yes, a loving family does have traditions like dancing to We Are Family, but are willing to adopt new traditions, because I will guarantee you that any future family photo is now going to be prefaced by, ready, hold your breath, and smile. So, thank you for that. We have just a few minutes. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share regarding the importance of family get-togethers, or John?
More of a tale of woe.
Go sit down. Always leave him on a high note, John.
We'll see. So, the warmth of my family was really generated by a different generation of people. Maybe you've experienced that, maybe not. So, I was kind of a late child. My name is Jonathan, which means gift of God, and I was the unexpected child for my parents after 11 years of marriage, unsuccessful efforts to get pregnant, being told it wouldn't happen. And so I was part of a warm family, principally on both sides. I still remember many get-togethers. My mother's family was, and her parents were in Canada, in Montreal. I recall we went up there, it seems like at least 3 to 4 times a year for a week. I had friends up there in the neighborhood where my grandparents lived. I had warm cousins, relationships, because we had various kids that were from the 4 children of my mother's generation. So we spent a lot of time there and had a lot of connections. And on my father's side, even though his parents had passed away almost before my time, there were other cousins and people on that side of the family with whom I had time that I shared as well. And my mother had friends from her upbringing in Montreal with whom we had relationships and so forth. Unfortunately, what happened is that people passed on. So first my grandmother passed away in 1966. That wasn't a really big issue because we still went up to meet my grandfather. But he passed away in 1970, and unfortunately, that was a generating reason for us to go up to Montreal. So those trips basically stopped, and we didn't do that anymore. So therefore, that part of my family kind of got cut off. Now my mother's youngest sister was in the same community I grew up in, but the others were either in Canada or elsewhere. So basically at that point, unfortunately, my connections to that piece of my family began to dry up, and unfortunately remained that way ever since. Parts of my generation have passed on. Two of them are still up in Montreal. My father's son, Jeff, I've not unfortunately had contact with for decades, but just because I know where he is. So that's kind of really the story of that side of my family. My father's side was a small family. I was one, his brother had one child, and my aunt, his sister, had two children. Again, not much in contact there. I keep in touch with my first cousin, who is in Washington, D.C., her brother having passed away, and I said, my cousin Jeff, don't know where he is. But, as Albert has successfully said, one finds, so that's my blood family, but as Albert has said, there are surrogate families, groups I'm part of, people I work with, all of you folks here. And I kind of think of Chris, and he's an adoptive son, but I would be willing to say he is as much a part of that family as the biological child is. Nurture and connections, I think, outweigh biology because of what we've said. It's who you're with, where you feel your love and your care coming from, which really define family. There are plenty of genetic families where the upbringing is terrible. I deal with the city of Reading, people indirectly through the school system. Not a pleasant upbringing for those poor children. So let us be happy that we have each other, and this is, again, one of my surrogate families.
Here, here. Thank you. Let's do our closing hymn, Lean on Me, 1021. Now we will extinguish our chalice. One of our loving family can do that. No fighting, please. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And I'll leave you with these closing words from the great philosopher Stitch from the movie Lilo and Stitch. Ohana means family, and family means that no one gets left behind or forgotten. So thank you. And we'll end the recording.